friends! I'm here today to make a video about Reiki and about how over the next month I'm going to be offering free sessions and free initiations to anyone who's interested. So this video is probably going to end up being about a half hour, and first I'm going to go into my experience and history with Reiki and why now at this time I'm being called to give this beautiful gift away. Then I'm going to talk about the types of sessions that I do, and then after that I'm going to talk about initiation and what that is and how that can benefit. So I first started practicing Reiki way back in 2008 when I was still an engineer at Boeing, and at the time I had no concept of what any of this, what we would call New Age spiritual stuff was. I didn't know what a chakra was. I knew that I wanted change in my life, and things had started coming into my life, one being Reiki, and I said yes. So what happened is the first time I had Reiki done, it was done on my head, and it was very like, I couldn't tell if I could feel or anything or not. I was a healthy skeptic, I guess you could say, meaning I wasn't like, oh, this is total BS, but I wasn't like, oh yes, I can feel it. But the person that was giving Reiki to me said that she could feel something, and she said it felt like little ping pongs in my head. And given the fact that I was an engineer with an overactive mind, that totally resonated with me. That's probably what my brain would feel like. However, the next day I was at work, and I was at a meeting, and it was a bunch of PhDs and people that were visiting Boeing in town for a meeting, like kind of a brainstorming session. And I'm sitting in this meeting, and something was just different. I was perceiving the people in the group, I was perceiving their thoughts and intentions as energy. And so what I mean is one participant would share an idea, and in that I sensed his words, his thought, as excitement, enthusiasm. And then someone else would reply, and I could feel, and they would try to undercut, oh, but about this, and I sensed their thoughts as maybe ego, or almost purposely trying to dig in there and get to the root of what they were saying, but also exert their own intelligence and power over the other. And this kind of went back and forth. It was just like energy whizzing by me in a way that I had never experienced before, and I just intuitively knew it was because of the Reiki. And I didn't know where it would lead or what it meant, but it fascinated me enough that I wanted to know more. So eventually I got a level 1 initiation, and it was very nonchalant. I found this meetup, and I went to the meetup, and I thought it was just going to be this information session, and then before I knew it, at the end, the woman's like, so who wants to be initiated to level 1? And I was like, okay. And she didn't charge anything for it, and I left with like this little 2-page packet and didn't really know what I was doing, but I still did it every now and then, not nearly as regular as I do now. Eventually I was called to get my level 2 very soon after, only a couple months, because I wanted that more energy. And after that I started to perceive spirit guides and other things that I hadn't really sensed before. It kind of opened my world to a little bit of the esoteric realm of existence. And then eventually I got a level 3, and then eventually I found a different lineage called Kundalini Reiki, and I became a Reiki master in that. That was in 2012, and it's just been uphill ever since. In 2013 I went to Peru, and my intention there was to really step up my Reiki. I was planning to stand outside the train to Machu Picchu giving chakra balances to people. That actually didn't happen, but I did got a little office and really started doing Reiki on myself much, much more, as well as on other people. In Peru, I then attended my first 10-day Vipassana meditation, and immediately after I got out, I ended up moving to this little village outside of a village called Calca, Peru, and I was living in this little house without internet, and I knew it was time for me to start initiating other people. It was time for me to start teaching Reiki. And so I wrote these 3 manuals, level 1, 2, and 3, and I just wrote them all in the course of a couple weeks. I would just get up every day and just write. And those manuals are still the manuals I'm using today. Since then, I've initiated about 70 people, I would say, into Reiki, and it's even progressed even more. In 2016, I started working even more with Ascended Master. Actually, no, it would have been 2015. I started developing these worksheets that would eventually be what's called 13 Moons to Self-Mastery, which is a Reiki course. Because one thing I realized is all over I meet people that say, oh yeah, I'm initiated to Reiki, but I don't use it very much. Because a lot of us don't really get proper training on how we can really use it to change our life, to change our energy system. We've kind of been taught that Reiki is for other people. So we get initiated to Reiki so that we can do it on other people and so that we can be a healer. When really a Reiki is something that anyone can do. Reiki is universal energy, Reiki. So I developed these 16 worksheets that go through all the chakras, and I did that on myself and with a group of their students in 2016. And then I am now creating and working through the level 2 worksheets. So we're going to have 32 weeks worth of worksheets for people to do. So last month I sat my 9th 10-day Vipassana course, or I served this one. I've sat and served a combination of 9 of them. And you know, when one gets out of these, we feel really good because we're purifying the mind, we're getting back to our source. Just like Reiki, for me, is a process of purification, purifying the energy system, which in turn purifies the cells. And so I got out and I went on Facebook, and I just noticed, I'm scrolling through my feed, and I just noticed all these people that I really care about, some that I don't even know very well, just feel this soul connection to, just really suffering. A lot of people suffering from depression that they've been dealing with for a very long time, often due to lifetime circumstances which were brought about by traumas that were experienced earlier in life, and just, you know, people beating the same drum and having the same experiences. And I just had this thought, like, my gosh, I know I can help these people. I know just like a little commitment on their end, we can completely change their energy field, which will completely change their life experience. And so how that would work, I'll just go into a little bit of quantum mechanics from a metaphysical point of view. So everything that exists is just atoms, right? So we have an atom, and an atom is made out of 99.99% empty space. And we, and everything in our existence, is just made up of atoms, which means that everything in existence is just 99.99% empty space. So everything that we perceive is only 0.001% of reality. And so this is where Reiki comes in, this invisible energy. It can work through the space in the body, in the chemical structure in the mind, and alter the vibration of it. Just like when you've seen maybe the YouTube videos where you talk into some water in a harsh, negative tone, or you talk to water in a smooth, loving tone, how you get different patterns within the water. Same with plants. You've probably seen YouTube videos where someone yells at a plant every day for a month and tells it it's worthless and nothing, and then it dies. And the same, they tell a plant loving things and, you know, send it love and tell it how great it is, and it grows. So that's same true for us within the space in our body. We can alter the vibration of our body by doing this practice of Reiki. And then when we alter the inside of our body, it radiates out, and we begin to see the outside world changing around us. So I had this idea. I just want to give everyone free initiations because I just know that I can help them change their inner world enough that it will change their outer world. And then I got back from that meditation, and of course, doubt started to kick in, like, oh, I've done Reiki in the past, and, you know, people haven't really the people who I do Reiki to always have very positive responses, but sometimes I haven't had luck convincing newcomers to give it a try. And I got focused on my dance and my flow arts, and so the idea was still in my mind, but I didn't act on it. Then I was at a stilt walking workshop, and I fell and I broke my arm, and it was such a spiritual experience for me. That day, I had been thinking to myself multiple times, I hope I don't break my arm. Oh, I hope I don't fall. I hope I don't hurt myself. And it's almost like I saw it happening. And so, depending on your worldview, people might say, oh my God, she was afraid of falling, and so that happened, and she broke her arm because she was afraid of it happening. And I don't look at it that way at all. I believe that we are all advanced, enlightened spiritual beings in our souls, and we have incarnated here, and we are currently experiencing our past and experiencing our evolution to who we are, to our true nature. And so I was getting a glimpse of what was to happen and what was always going to happen. And of course my ego's like, no, I don't want that to happen. So that's where the thoughts of I don't want that to happen came. But once it happened, I fell on the ground. Both bones were broke all the way through, and I felt like no pain. I would say I felt like maybe level 2, just like very discomfort. And just within minutes, just like when I was waiting for the people around there to make a splint so I could go to the hospital, I just knew that this happened because now the dance and the flow arts and the Reiki and the aerial was out for a while. And so now I was going to have to focus on my true gifts and what I'm here for. And that is to help awaken people to their true nature. So I get to the hospital and I'm sitting there and I close my eyes and I'm like trying to feel into what I'm feeling. You know, I'm expecting there to be a little bit of anger, like, you know, why did this happen? And that's not what I felt at all. I felt so much love, and I felt surrounded and held by all of these beings, and it was just so obvious that it was time for me to step more fully into my role as spiritual teacher. And the analogy that was given to me is that, like, I'm like a cupcake. I'm like this super healthy, vegan, carrot zucchini muffin, you know, sugar-free, with all of these delicious nutrition qualities that can really help the body. But then on top of it, we put some like sprinkles and some frosting or whatever, and it kind of covers up what's inside. And so for me, my gifts, my creative gifts, tend to outshine my spiritual gifts, and it's a hindrance to my own growth. And so that being taken away from me for a couple months is giving me space for this to grow and for me to make this video. So why am I offering it for free? Because I believe what I'm offering is truth, that every body has the ability to heal. And what kind of spiritual guide would I be if I said, I have something for you, I can heal you, all you have to do is give me X amount of money? I don't think that the truth is free. The truth is self-evident. And so, you know, the work, the actual sending of the Reiki is relatively easy for me, and I can do Reiki on myself. And when I do charge, I'm usually not thinking about the amount of transformation I'm going to offer someone and charging based on that. It's really just the time that I have, the time that I'm putting into it. And I happen to have a lot of time on my hands. I have been given a lot in my life, and I have this to give. So that's why it's free. It's not because it's not valuable. It's free because it is invaluable. It is so valuable that I can't put a price tag on it, and why would I want to? So, Reiki sessions. My work has really gone in the past couple years. I've kind of developed these techniques that have been proven to be really effective. So as I explain what I do, I'm going to kind of explain some of the cases that I've worked with, you can see kind of how it works. So the first session I would do with anyone would just be a chakra balance. It's this idea that we have chakras in our body, and really that's the only belief that one needs to have to do this work, and it doesn't even have to be a belief. You just kind of have to be open to the possibility, and you have to be willing to sit for a half hour and imagine these places doing healing. And as I said, this will be self-evident. You will have a physical experience. You'll feel it in your body as a sensation, or maybe you'll see things in your mind's eye. So that everything that is happening within you. It is you that is creating the change within you. So Reiki is compatible with any belief system you might have because it requires no belief. It's an experiential process. So that's just the basic. I would do that to everyone I work with at first, just to kind of get a little baseline balance going, and then to get their energy system back in balance and kind of prepare them for the more advanced work we're going to do, which would be tackling traumas in people's life. So below on this video, I'm going to make a comment of some of the things that I can work with. Grief, sexual assault, addiction, depression, I mean, you name it, we can work with it. So I'm going to explain one extreme case I have with someone who is an alcoholic. People who have known me for a long time know that I worked with a homeless man named Robert, who became a very special friend of mine. And he managed to be sober for about a week, and I decided that I was going to do this session with him, where I did the same thing I do on everyone. I kind of go through, and at the third chakra, I do some more advanced work calling cord cutting. So just any being who may have departed from our life that's causing us trauma, or who may have been some sort of abuser. It's about clearing that energy. It's about getting the person back to themselves. And then at the heart chakra, I do what's called an extraction and a soul retrieval. So I extract body energy from the body that may have been implanted by other people, other beings. For example, when one drinks a lot, their consciousness is susceptible to a whole bunch of craziness entering their system, which is why we see so much violence when people drink, and then the next day they're like, whoa, was that me? It's like, not really, it wasn't totally you. And then we do a soul retrieval. So all the traumas that have happened along the way, once we've removed this other energy, it creates space for this new energy to come in. So I did a session on him, and I'll be honest with him, I gave him a small dose of psilocybin because I knew that his trauma was so ingrained in his body that it was defining who he was. So the subconscious will hold on to trauma. We might say, I want to be sober, I want to be free from this abuser that's psychically manipulating me years after the abuse. I mean, many things. But the truth is, the trauma has integrated into our body and become so much a part of who it is, who we are, that it clamps on. And so the idea with the psilocybin, with this particular case, and this is not something I would do with most people, this was, like I said, an extreme case, but you'll see why I'm sharing it when I get to the outcome. It seemed necessary because he had 40 years of trauma that I was trying to get through to get to the root of why he had an addiction. So one session later, it was a miraculous change. He had seen, in his session, he had seen spirit guides for the first time, and basically they were telling him to stay put because he said his mind was racing, he just wanted to run off and have a cigarette and was really having a hard time being present. He said he saw a Native American man and a woman he was calling lady, and they were just kind of cheering him on and talking him through. And then the next day, he was just so committed to his sobriety. He was going to AA every day. He was carrying around that, I think it's called the Blue Book, which is the Blue Book, the book associated with AA. He was carrying that around like his Bible, and he was just so committed. And he stayed sober for a couple weeks until, unfortunately, I had got him into a shelter because he was staying with me at the time. It just wasn't sustainable. And when he got in that environment, which, with a lot of other people experiencing a lot of other traumas. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to maintain his sobriety, but I'm certain in a healthy environment with more support from me, energetic support from me, he would have been able to stay sober. So anyone with any sort of addiction, I think I can definitely help. Another experience that I have that's kind of my go-to story is a friend of mine who had experienced some sexual trauma in her life. So for the most part, she had a great family life, good education, all of things, but when she was a child, she was molested, and then later as an adult, she was raped. And so she had reached out to me to see, she was ready to finally face these things and move beyond them. And I was like, yes, let's do this. So we agreed on 3 sessions, and the first one was going to be just the chakra balance, just to kind of introduce the body to the work that we were going to be doing. The second session, we worked with the molestation, and I didn't need any details. I didn't need to know the person's name. I just needed to know, because I know the person's energy, right? And so I did what I described. I did the cord cutting, I opened the portal, I did the extraction and the soul retrieval, and then I kind of put these sessions in the ethers, and then when the receiver is ready, they say, "Higher Self, I would now like to receive this session," and they sit down and they imagine, and when she gets to the 3rd chakra, she does the cord cutting. She's imagining herself. I told her, imagine this person, and cut the cord. Say anything that you need to say. Feel what you need to feel, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, and just let it go. And I say that with so much care. It's not that easy, but with a cord cutting, it literally is. You're cutting the cord. There's these energetic threads, these fibers that connect us to people that have had big influences on their life. Then we go up to the heart chakra, and I do this extraction. I say, please, we're going to remove any of this being's energy that may have been trapped in her body during the trauma, that has affected her ability to do X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? It's always very intuitive exactly what I say, but saying something about removing this energy. And then once this energy is gone, we invite her soul back in. So the idea is that whenever there is a trauma in life, a part of the soul kind of has to split off, almost to protect itself. And so we all have little parts of ourselves all over the place. So what I do is I invite this part of the soul back. The higher self, bring the soul back to the body, and the person usually feels it. I do these on myself quite often. I'll get into what I've been doing on myself, but I've been doing one of these almost every day, not with major traumas, but you can feel it. There's a physical sensation and a feeling of wholeness. Often there's an emotion that's coming back, a feeling of coming home. And then she continues up, and we do all the chakras. Then we did a 3rd session, and we dealt with the rape. And after the 3 sessions, I heard back from her. She's like, this is amazing. I was intimate with my husband since the first time since these sessions, and there were no nightmares, there were no flashbacks. I was able to be completely present with him. We both looked at each other's eyes, and we just cried because we could both sense that my energy was completely different. And then a month later, she was pregnant. And still thriving. And I've worked with other people around sexual assault who have had similar experiences of basically as soon as we removed the energy within cell, one of them was having issues with her husband. And we went through and dealt with some of her past relationships. And without doing any energy work on the husband started responding to her differently. The things that were bothering her about her husband, he changed because she changed. With me, I've been going through all my past relationships who that weren't necessarily traumatic in any major way, but I have a tendency to kind of throw my whole heart into people and give much more energetically than I'm receiving. And then obviously these And so the reason that these relationships are maintained is because I'm pumping so much energy into them. And then obviously they never actually work out because there's never a balance of energy. And so I'm really trying to break this pattern because I saw it starting to happen again with a new person I just met. And so I decided to go through every person that I had a memory of doing this pattern with. And most of these people, I have wonderful either online relationships with them, or, you know, there's no hard feelings or anything, but it still had an effect. So I've been doing one of these. I've been doing one almost every day, and I wouldn't do one every day for people that had big traumas, but for little traumas, you know, it's just about getting that out and getting back to the source of who I am without this need for another to complete me. So I'm going to speak about grief and passed on loved ones, because I know some people who I hope are watching this video who have experienced some trauma around that. Okay, so sometimes it's really, this idea of cutting a cord from a loved one that's passed on seems counterintuitive. Like, why would I want to cut off this memory, this being? And it's not that you're cutting off the person, it's that that person does not exist in the same energy that you And so when we're holding on to that energy and the trauma of someone's death, we're holding on to an idea of who they no longer are, and it prevents us from experiencing who and what they are now, which is existing fully in spirit form. Like, for example, when I closed my eyes at the hospital and I just felt this support and love, that can be experienced by people who have lost loved ones. But because the human that is still on earth is holding on to so much of the one that's passed on, the human is not able to feel the full essence of the spirit being. And not only that, the spirit being is not whole because the human is holding on to a part of them. So one example is a friend of mine who has been a dear friend for many, many years, and who had a very sick child who passed on. And these two parents put their heart and soul into the care of this child for, I think it was 8 or 9 years. Such a traumatic experience. Also, I'm sure a very rewarding and fulfilling experience, like being in full care of someone. But every hospital visit, every surgery, a little bit of the parent's soul is lost, right? I mean, it's traumatic. So the idea when we cut these cords and we do these extractions and these soul retrievals from passed on loved ones that we love, we're not cutting off the memory of them. We're creating new memories, right? We're giving them back the soul parts of them that we're holding on to that don't exist anymore. And then we're going through the whole situation that happened, and we're like, wow, I lost a part of myself here, I lost a part of myself, like, come back to myself, blah, 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 bring into the heart. And what will happen is that instead of when you close your eyes and imagine this loved one and feeling this emptiness and this sense of loss, my hope is that you will feel her there, the being, the spirit being of this past loved one in her true full essence as she exists now with you, instead of this scattered energy of grief that's trapped in the body and a soul essence that's still being held on to when she's free now, and she can't be completely free because she's being held on to, or whoever this is. This is the same situation with parents that have passed on. A lot of times we're so attached to who they were in life that we don't give them the opportunity to exist for us in spirit. And remember, 0.001% of what you perceive is solid reality. There is so much that we don't know, that we can't see, that we can only perceive with our sixth sense. And so this work serves to open you to that. So that is kind of, I think that's enough explanation about my Reiki sessions. So for a lot of you that have had very specific traumas, a handful of sessions, 2-3 sessions with me, will transform you. Now, there's a lot of people out there who have had a lifetime of traumas, and it has led to diagnosed mental illness, for example, or undiagnosed mental illness in some cases, just like chronic depression. And that takes a little bit more than a couple sessions, right? When you have had a lifetime of trauma, it takes years to undo some of that. And so this is why I want to offer Reiki session or Reiki initiations, because we need to do the work ourselves, right? So by giving you initiation, I always explain a Reiki initiation. Reiki is like a key code that exists in every body. Every body has the power to self-heal itself. However, if we were born with this key code open and we could all just heal everyone, heal ourselves, we really wouldn't know that we could do that, right? We wouldn't appreciate it. There wouldn't be the opportunity to experience the evolution of the human spirit. So this is why we get this initiation. It's the unlocking of what is within you that allows you to then heal yourself. And it's done by your own free will, by just simply saying, yes, I want to unlock this power. I cautiously compare it to a baptism, except a baptism happens often when we're a baby, right? And we don't have any conscious choice, and so but the idea is that we're inviting spirit into our life, we're accepting Jesus Christ or, whatever into our life, and that's what the baptism is. So the Reiki initiation is kind of like that, except what you're accepting into your life is yourself, is your highest self, is your ability to heal yourself. And so that's where we get into this program that I've developed, which is just, they're worksheets with about 5 exercises on them that are so basic. We start 2 weeks on each chakra, and then 2 weeks, and then a week on, there's 14 body parts that we focus on in Reiki: the feet, the ankles, the knees, the hips, the abdomen, the chest, the shoulders, 14 of them. So for each of the 14 weeks, we have a different body part, and we start at the root and we work our way up the body, so that we're starting from a healed root place, a stable place. And so it's very, very, very simple exercises. Close your eyes and do 5 minutes of Reiki while imagining red and massaging your feet. What insights are coming? When we get to the second chakra, for example, second chakra is where we heal things like our sexuality, our creativity, depression. A lot of different things, our dysfunctions are in the second chakra. So I ask you to focus on one for the course of 2 weeks and really intend on that change, clearing out anything that might be causing. A lot of times true change requires a lifestyle change, but it's the energy in our body that prevents us from being able to make the change. So Reiki doesn't necessarily work like magic, where it's like, oh, I did Reiki on my second chakra, and now all of a sudden lifelong issues I've had with weight are no longer an issue. No, it's more like we clear that energy. Now you can see it for what it is, and you can work through the things and make the changes in life. Most of the people that I'm hoping are watching this video are highly creative people, wizards and wizardesses that I feel like are meant to be doing this work, and a lot of you suffer from cyclic depression. And I think that is because your purpose is so much higher than the world allows it to be. A lot of you are working at jobs, struggling to pay bills. I mean, this world is not set up for people like us. I know that. It took me many, many years of this work to get to the point. Many of you who know me know that I attracted a benefactor who's been helping me financially, much less now. I finally got a new career that allows the time to do my art and do my healing work. But there was a time where I was 100% being supported financially, and it was because of this work, because I did years of Reiki on myself first to transform my inner world so that my outer world had no choice but to match. And so a lot of you have all of this potential in you, but traumas early in life, along with just a society that doesn't cater to who you know you are deep, deep inside, creates this mismatch. There's a mismatch of who you perceive yourself to be versus the vibration that your body is sending out versus the vibration of the world. So for these people, I would recommend a Reiki initiation, and then to do this, you need to do Reiki on yourself about 4 times a week maybe, for about 10 minutes, so about 40 minutes worth of effort a week, for many weeks, for many months. And after 6 months, after you've worked your way through all of your body parts and all of your chakras, I guarantee there will be a shift. I can't say how dramatic it will be. You know, at that time you might be like, I think I'm ready for level 2. Oh, I want level 2 because I want to start doing distance Reiki, and I want to start going back to each trauma I can remember. I mean, I've sent distance Reiki to times when I was made fun of, when I was bullied in school, and I was pretty well liked in school, but we all have those little experiences that happen that our brain locks onto. So that's who I would recommend a initiation to. But no, I would recommend an initiation to anyone, because if you haven't had significant trauma in your life, you have a head start. I mean, I think that's why I'm sitting where I'm sitting, because I haven't had significant trauma in my life. I just said yes, and I opened, and I experienced. So I hope this is reaching people. I hope this is reaching people who have never considered themselves healers before, because you are, we all are. And so the main motivation of my work is to get you to do Reiki if you're going for the initiation, is to do Reiki on yourself. And maybe then in the future you will want to do Reiki on other people, and you'll want to become a Reiki master, and you'll want to share this in the same way I do, and I would love that. But first, we just want to get you radiating your highest potential. And no matter how happy and how together your life is, there's always more. I promise you, there's always room for growth. We should never stop until we are an enlightened society, until our inner light and our inner world is radiating with such purity and radiance that the outside world has no choice but to transform. And I know the word purity often is taken, you know, out of context. I'm just talking purely like the mind not being full of negative thoughts, and then the body being full of light. And however that manifests in your life is how it manifests. I'm not trying to push any practices or ideas on what purity means. And so I just want to end with something that I saw on Facebook today. And it was said, trauma shows up in your life as procrastination, resistance, fear of failure, not feeling good enough, needing to plan everything, trouble asking for help, and fear of success. And I think that this is the #1 reason why I haven't had as many people come to me as I would like. Because I'm seeking out people who have experienced trauma, and these people are already wired not to step into things that they are not comfortable with. So what I'm saying is, what I want everyone is just to reevaluate your life. And if you think this isn't for you, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, why not just try it? Why not say, hey, in an email, hey Lynn, I experienced this, this, and this, and I am curious about what you have to offer. I would like to have a session or two. And I would recommend a session or two before everyone gets the initiation, so you can feel what it feels like. But don't allow your mind to tell you no. Don't allow yourself not to take advantage of this opportunity because of trauma you have faced. Don't be afraid of failing. Oh, I'm not good enough to do Reiki. No, you are. You're a human. And don't be afraid of success. Don't be afraid of your whole energy field changing in such a dramatic way that you don't even know who you used to be anymore, because I promise you, you will only be closer to your higher self. So the last thing I wanted to read was another thing I saw today on Instagram. Okay. February 20th, 2020. I don't know if you can see this. You had the power all along. This world just molded us into limiting our own belief system. They make it seem like all the good things of life are only meant for those people, or the lucky ones. Luck is only granted to those who believe in their own worth and put action into manifesting that in reality. So I am so sure what I am offering is a gift that can transform your life, and the emotion that I'm feeling is nothing but love and compassion and a true desire for everyone to experience the fullness that I feel every day. To be able to fall and break your arm and not feel the pain, and to feel angels supporting you, to be able to live below the poverty line, which I do by standard definitions, and still have everything I need coming to me in one way or another. It's magic, and we can all experience it, and I want it for us all. So, if you're interested, send me an email. Please don't message me through Facebook or Instagram. I'm wanting to keep all of this work just all in one place, and so in the comments section I will have my email. It's ascensionspace@gmail.com, and I'm hoping I get flooded with messages, and so if that happens, give me time to get back to you, but we will work through all this. I'm committed to giving these 3 sessions at least through this month and next month, and maybe into April if I have enough interest. So let's do this. Let's awaken the world, let's awaken ourselves, let's free ourselves from all of the negativity and trauma that holds us back from shining our true light. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free. I love you. Namaste. Amen. And so it is.